Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gathering of Gachas, the only podcast that focuses exclusively on the games your parents don't want you to play. I'm Galen, the sound guy Firestone, now hopefully with a mic that doesn't sound like crap.
I'm Ranakel, always with a mic that doesn't sound like crap.
And I'm Dez with a mic, I guess.
Yeah, you have a mic.
It's a thing.
It is a thing. It's a thing that works.
It exists. And you know what? Sometimes that's good enough.
Better than
Yes,
Kite's
indeed.
mic, which doesn't exist at the moment, but we are fixing that. It's on his
Yes,
way to him
on its
now.
way.
There's just a whole shipping to the Philippines thing we're dealing with, but he's getting new tech.
So he should be back with us for the next episode, I believe.
That is the hope. That is the
Another
hope.
ending hope.
And on the subject of hope, let's go ahead and talk about FFBE and our hope that we get a good banner for once.
Well, it's actually more than one banner, given how it's spread out.
Yeah?
So let's get right into it. FFBE. As a personal note to open, I had two objectives I had for my future pools. I wanted Madame Edel, and I wanted CG Shantotto.
Oof.
And looking at the release order, I thought, you know what? I'm good. Now that Madame Edel, I got her, I have still some resources, and there's this 11 rainbow banner around the corner, but there's still CG Zidane to come, there's still CG Tidus to come, so I'm good. I have time. Literally the next event, CG Shantotto rolls out.
Yup.
Oof.
Thankfully, I still had over 100 tickets. I managed to get everything I wanted and a
Okay.
bit more. So that's a story with a good conclusion, but
Yeah.
that was uncomfortably close.
Yeah, Global changing the schedule as hard as they do does tend to make predicting the future very difficult and planning for pulls.
As Kite would say, time skips again.
Yeah, but Kite is, like, angry about such things, and that makes me sad. Cause...
I know.
But on the plus side, it means I'm basically ready for trial stomping mode.
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
I'm going to catch up, especially since it has some interesting perk. I think we might as well cover them before we get into the banner itself.
Sure.
So we have a new main story chapter. I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Okay.
And we have the story reclear missions that rolled around at the beginning of the month.
Okay.
So, which means that the story reclear missions for the first two areas, they're not in the game anymore. You can't do them anymore. They were time limited for about a month.
Really?
Yeah. And this month, the new story chapters, the third and fourth story chapters, reclear missions are up.
Okay.
So we have those which are always pretty good, gives tons of lapis, and even some super sites for the Esper trial reclears.
Okay. Well,
But on top of that, we also have missions similar to those to clear trials. Like not just the Espers or anything, but literally, I think the full chamber. What's the name of that chamber again?
I'm trying to remember, too.
Chamber
It
of
was
the
the chamber
Fallen?
where they were first... Scorn.
Scorn.
Chamber. No, not Scorn. Fallen.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh.
Fallen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's actually pretty cool. What kind of rewards do those give?
So yeah, it's the Chamber of the Fallen in full. It goes from Attack of the Intan Gear all the way to Beast of the Dark 2, and it's 100 lapis for each of these 21 trials.
Okay.
That's a good chunk of lapis.
That's pretty,
Yeah.
pretty acceptable.
And I like that it gives you maybe an excuse not just to redo all the trials quick and dirty, but also to maybe try some weird team comps and try to have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
And
Having
get some
fun in
nappies.
trials is something that FFBE has maybe not gotten wrong all the time, but certainly hasn't been their strongest suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a nice bonus too.
Yeah.
Point being, we are between all of those and the fact we have a daily lapis pool, we've pretty much been showered in the blue stuff these days.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yes,
Resources are good.
very much. Now about the banner, Final Fantasy XI.
Yeah, other than
So-
Shantotto, I know none of these people.
Yeah, me neither, honestly.
Okay.
I've just played like a couple of days the game, and it was pretty late in its life cycle.
I played it right when it first came out, got to level 10, bought a whole bunch of new gear, leveled back down to level 9, none of my gear worked anymore, and I was out of gil.
Sounds about right.
And I'm like, any game that allows this to happen on a long-term progression is balls. I'm out. Good night.
Leveling down?
Level down.
just
Yes, indeed.
Dumb.
It
Yeah, you
is.
die,
You
you
are
level down.
correct.
It was another time. Reminder that this game was made to run on PS2.
Yep. Wow, was it really PS2?
Yeah,
It feels so
Because
much older
FF4
than that.
because FF14 was PS3 and that got dropped out because of PS3 limitations. I
Wow.
bought it on PS3, I understand those limitations. But we're getting away from the main topic, which is first the banners itself. So remember last time there was this really good idle banner
Right.
with the 12k laps you could do, and you could get a prism for pretty cheap or a guaranteed one.
Yeah.
And before that, there was the Onion Knight banner, which was pretty good too, with the ability to choose which dual unit you'll get.
Right.
Well, for this one, what they did was, here's your choice. You can have 1 lap of the Onion Knight version, or up to 8 lap of the Idle version. Except this time it's on a split banner, so it's not quite as good as Idle, but you have basically 2 banners and your choice of which you want to do, and that's a pretty decent compromise. It still feels like they're trying random things, but
Yeah, but, I mean, I
they're
can't
good
really
things.
blame someone for trying... Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I can't really blame someone for trying something random.
And I like having the choice between 2 good solutions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very much about that, yes.
One important modification, however, on the banner you can repeat up to 8 times with the 12k lap.
Okay.
The prism is still at 40 currency, which is 1 lap, but to get the exact unit you want in full, you need to do 4 lap and not just 2.
Ah.
So that's way pricier this way.
Yeah.
Yes, that's definitely a lot less attractive than Edel's banner was in that way.
Absolutely, for these 2 reasons, the split banner and the increased cost.
Yeah.
But given that you have the other banner to have the exact unit you want guaranteed for 25k, that kind of balances out.
Yeah, I mean, certainly none of this sounds bad. This all sounds good, but it does sound very much like they're throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Again, not a bad thing necessarily. I think
Yeah,
trying to
Right.
figure themselves out to do something good is a good thing.
exactly.
Sure. And sometimes you kind of need to see the statistics of what the players end up doing in order to decide, okay, well, is this one better, or is that one better, or which one do people like more?
Yeah. I do
And
kind of wish it didn't feel
honestly-
so much like a beta test.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fair.
But honestly, given that not only these are pretty good options, but the game also has been pretty consistently good for the past months and several months over, I ran a full lap, and I needed one more step at 3,000 lapis to have this one guaranteed ticket. And so I decided, you know what, I could easily do story or reclears or anything like that to get this 3k right now, but I'm just going to toss them some real money.
Really?
Because at this, I got a little bundle at 25 euros because I haven't done so in a while. And as I said, it's the game's been pretty consistently good, and I thought, why not?
Fair enough. Yeah, very often these days I think we kind of come off as recommending against spending, but if the product is good, of course. You know?
Yeah. It's,
for sure.
I mean, one of the big factors is precisely that I didn't feel pressured into spending.
Yeah.
As I said, I could have done the other things just as easily.
Sort of like Valkyrie Anatomia with their desperately throwing money problems at a wall.
Indeed.
Like, you want to see a contrast between two games. There you have it.
Yeah. And, the spending part was useless as far as the unit chasing go. Got nothing on the additional lap and nothing on banner on the ticket itself. But I kept burning my ticket stash, and I've got 4 Lilisettes and 3 Wizardish Shantotto plus a Prism.
Oh, okay.
And I also got as an off banner my 4th Livy Shantotto, so...
Well, Shantotto will have a good weapon for herself, I guess.
No, it's a materia. It's
materia.
80% magic materia.
Which is Cackle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which I am absolutely not using yet because she has crazy stat and doesn't need that to be maxed.
Okay. Crazy stats can be good.
Yeah, no, like she's got 2 free materia spot already, and I haven't equipped her as TMR yet for a reason that I'll explain a bit later. But let's move on to the units themselves.
Okay.
So, Wizardish Shantotto is a mage. She used to be Mystic Cross in the JP version, but now all of her chaining moves had been moved to Chaos Wave Awakened.
Okay, interesting. Wonder why they changed that.
Maybe they're just focusing on one mage chaining family.
I mean, yeah, but having multiple families to work off of just feels like the right move, especially since it felt like we were getting Mystic Cross. Was it Mystic Cross? Or yeah, I think it was Mystic Cross,
Cross.
Early.
I'm not sure. I think they focused on Absolute Zero more.
Absolute Zero, excuse me, you're correct. I got those
Absolute
confused.
Zero was pushed a little as the global exclusive chaining family, and they moved hard back towards Chaos Wave Awaken, which is also strange given how hard is it to chain.
Yeah.
But anyway, at least it gives compatibility with units like Sigi Darkfina.
Right.
Since chaining move have 3 elements, which are lightning, water, and dark.
Okay.
And she has no unlock for triple cast or anything. It's just very right away. The modifier for her attacks also start pretty high. Like the big chaining moves start at 22.5 instead of ramping up progressively. But that's not to say there's no ramping element, because she's got 3 cooldowns that allow her to increase her modifiers, which are Cascade, which costs LB crystals, quite higher than the Gustaberg range, and Subtle Sorcery, which starts with an increased modifier and then ramps up again and again on its own, kind of like how Tsukiko did.
Oh, okay. So...
Except it's only over 3 turns.
Still, self-scaling is not the worst thing on the planet, especially for longer bosses.
Exactly. And the convenient thing is that you can do these 3 scaling moves on the first turn, triple casting to get all of them, You can use even the one that costs LB Chris on the first turn because she's a CG protagonist, meaning she got full LB bar right away.
All right.
And then you're ready to go to town starting on turn 2, triple casting your drastically increased chaining move.
All right.
She even has some side utility both as a little bit of a support with 30% mitigation and 1000 HP barrier for 3 turns, which can be part of the triple cast.
Okay.
And she has a little bit of sub-aspect as an LB damager, because she has one of her cooldown, which is 70% LB damage increase. She also has some native LB damage, and it's 35.5 magic damage with Ignore SPR, 50%. So around a 70 times modifier, which is pretty decent.
That's a pretty strong modifier, yeah.
Yep.
It chain with itself. It's not a common chaining move, but if you have 2 Shantottos, they chain between each other.
I mean, that's what friend lists are for.
Yeah, and the interesting gimmick is that the last effect of the LB is that it increases LB gauge by 30 to 40 crystals. It costs 40 crystals. That means you can use the LB starting on turn 1 every single turn.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, especially using it in the Madame's Manor, because it has this ancient trapped ruin flair to it, where you expect a boulder to come rushing down and crush you at every corner.
Nice.
But this time, I was the boulder. Because the CG animation is literally her growing so big she throws the moon at you.
Oh, good. We're going full Majora. Got it.
Yeah. And also, she has no MP problems because she has innate MP decrease cost and several cooldowns to both refresh MP or outright get her MP. Oh wait, no, even better. Get one ally's MP back to full.
That's actually really neat, but when was the last time we needed a mana battery? Like, we have so many options for mana refill.
Yeah, but mana drains can hit pretty hard, and there's been a couple trials that certainly decide to use MP absorption as a way to slow you down.
Hasiko unit when?
But yeah, she's been buffed globally, and the buffs are pretty good. Like, for instance, I don't believe in the JP version her mana wall was part of the triple cast, and of course there's the chaining changes. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the results. She has strong power. She still has her black magic, which are unlocked right from the start. Of course, they don't have the power level to match any of her other moves, but she still has this utility as someone who can actually get the kill a boss with black magic mission by actually killing the boss.
Right. Not doing the whole, like, cast it at just the right time to get it in an overkill and collect credit for it.
Exactly.
Which is... Never been a fan of that mechanic, gotta be honest.
Yeah. And she's been immune to about any single relevant status ailment, so... Yeah. Pretty happy with where she landed.
Yeah, I'd say it sounds like she's pretty good, especially with given the fact that she was bumped up.
Yeah.
From where she was in JP, so she's further forward in the release order, and yet she's more powerful than she was in JP anyway.
Exactly. So I'm pretty confident to say she's the best mage in GL right now.
Wow. Okay, good for her.
Yeah, happy with that.
I know you're a fan, so...
I am. And of course, at this point, you might expect Lilisette, which is the other unit on the banner, to be the pity prize, the one you want to avoid. The Hain, or was it the Sunday? No, I think it was the Hain, the one you want to avoid.
Right.
But no, she's also really, really good.
That's a good sign. We like hearing that.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. As a last note on Wizard of Shantotto. TMR and STMR. Her TMR is a hat with big magic, more magic, and lightning resist.
Nice.
Decent. And her STMR is the Minister's Coat. It's a robe. It has 10% auto refresh, decent defense, 150 MP, and the biggest magic stat of any robe, I believe, at 85.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Which blows even Dark Fina's STMR out of the water.
Which is a little sad, but, I mean, Amiculum's what, 2 years old?
Yeah, and it still has some utility, both as something you can equip with your second best mage, and the innate 30% MP can be pretty nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, back to Lilisette.
Okay.
To start from one TMR to another, she's got Dance Master as a TMR, which is 40% attack and 40% more if you equip with a dagger. 70% attack is pretty good, and less restrictive than Madame's TMR, which has the same effect, but
Right.
for guns and fists. And her STMR, well, we're talking about obsoleting old STMRs. This one is pretty much Edgar's STMR on crack.
So a lot of attack and
Ribbon.
thank you.
But a lot of attack, 53, and just as much in defense and just as much in magic.
Ooh.
And a refresh and an LB fill per turn. On top of the ribbon. Yeah, that's a crazy STMR.
That is a really good STMR.
It's crazy good. I didn't chase after it, but I'm very glad I've got it.
I mean, yeah, that's one of those that I would never say no to. That's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to see use.
Oh, yeah.
You can use that on
literally
pretty much
anybody.
Anybody.
You could use that
Yeah.
on hybrids.
Hey, no, it's that on one unit, and that's the twins. Because they're based on spirits, and that's the one stat it doesn't raise.
Yeah. No.
Unusable, trash unit, trash STMR. No, it's really good. And
There
the
you go.
unit itself is pretty good too. I think it's one of their best attempts at doing an offensive support unit.
Okay. Offensive support has always kind of been a bit of a weakness for them, so that doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah. So, she has several chaining moves, which are all absolute mirror of equity.
Okay.
And she can imbue and imperil ice and water.
Okay, good imperils.
Ice in particular is pretty relevant because it allows her to chain nicely with King Laswell.
Okay.
And she has her main gimmick is that she unlocks some very powerful move for not a limited amount of turns, but a limited amount of uses. One of the most striking one is that right at the start she has a cast of Success of the Dark Future, which unlocks Energy Drain and Quick Step, which are two powerful chaining moves that also do very powerful effects. One removes all buffs from one enemy, not the debuffs, just the buffs, and the other is a 70% all stat breaks for 3 turns. But there's no other way to unlock them besides the autocast at the start or at resurrection. Meaning that if you want to refresh these moves mid-fight, your only solution is to kill her and re-raise her.
Oh, that's weird.
Yes, it is. But this doesn't mean that it's only 2 good moves. She has Front Stance in particular, which Right at the cast, it's 30% full party mitigation. Then it unlocks 4 moves, which are an HP MP refresh instant and over 4 turns.
Okay.
It's 120% ice and water break with chain. Absolute mirror of equity as well.
Okay.
There's also
Gotta love the fact that AMOE is making a comeback after Stardust Ray has kind of taken over the meta for a very long time.
Yeah. It's pretty good. It also has a full attack and magic buff for the party with attack and magic break immunity and LB gauge field. And it has a 70% break for only defense and spirit. She has no way besides the quick step she gets at the start to break attack and magic.
Okay.
But defense and spirit break, break immunity, and 300% LB gauge fill rate for 4 turns.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah, and so it gives her this toolbox kind of feel, especially since all of her moves can be dual casted right at the start, and you can use a cooldown to triple cast for 5 turns.
Okay.
I'd say she
And
sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and aside from that, she also has other utility. She has a 30% mitigation with remove all debuffs from allies and Ezuna and a 5,000 HP barrier, but that's on a 10 turns cooldown.
Still, 5k HP barrier, especially for like big hits from bosses, you timed that right. That is impossibly good.
She has a stop immunity for 3 turns, which is really good if your healer only has charm immunity, for instance.
Yup. Although, how many healers are in that position? To be perfectly honest with you,
I'm not certain. I'm only slamming Lena these days.
Fair enough. Because I know, I mean, going back a ways, but Foka had both, and she's old as heck now.
Yeah. And there's also full stat buffs, crazy LB increases, and the damage is not bad at all. Like her imbue are already 7 times modifier, without taking into account the passives, which I believe give some more modifiers to those.
Okay.
She also has several attacks which have a pretty decent modifier. Her main attack like that being a timestamps modifier, but with critical hits.
Ooh, crits. We like crits.
Yeah.
Well, I say we like crits, but that just adds RNG to it, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, no, it's guaranteed crit.
Well, never mind then. Wow, okay. What's the point of calling it a crit?
I don't know.
Okay.
And,
so, the modifier's a lie, is really what you just said.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially since we have a perfectly nice way to increase by half the modifier, which is called Ignore Death. Like, for instance, and pay reclears. Her attack that can only be unlocked on the 7th turn and has a 7-turn cooldown, but has 7.5 modifier for the 7 first hits and a 23% self-capping hit.
Okay.
All with defense 50% ignore.
That sounds like a very, very big hit. It's just very...
That is pretty enormous.
Yeah, it's just very strange the way it's worded. Like,
yeah,
they're trying to make the math work more than it... I almost feel like it should. Like, it feels overcomplicated.
And speaking of stop and charm immunity, she has both natively.
Good.
So
nice to have one. Nice that she has them both natively and can buff those resistances as well.
Yeah, well, one of them. The other she can't unless she has Lakshmi equipped.
Okay.
Oh, and as a true dual wield unit, she has the 6-time modifier. Well, 6-time multiplier, more like. So yeah, she's a really solid unit with lots of utility, lots of ability to refill LB, including her own LB, which fills everybody's LB gauge by 20 and only costs 27 crysts.
That's fairly spammable too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Especially
with
since
how many you get from boss drops and everything. Anyway.
yeah, and like LB Chris increases count, and she has a lot of that innately, so she can pretty much spam it every turn.
That sounds pretty darn good to me.
Yeah, it's certainly not her best option because her other attacks that are triple castable do way more damage, but it's an option.
It is an option.
We always like having options.
Yes.
Indeed. So yeah, both Lilisette and Wizard of Shantotto are all very good. And you'll be pretty happy if you pull one of them, even off-runner.
There you go.
There's a bit of a controversy justifiably about the structure of the event itself.
Okay. Well, is it a King Mog or?
It's a raid event.
Oh, okay. So you don't get a free unit on this one.
You don't, but that's not the problem.
Okay.
The problem is that you get bonus unit rewards this time. Namely that if you have one of the units on this banner, you get bonus currency.
I mean, that's frustrating, but it doesn't seem like it can't be overcome.
It can't, and for me in particular, it's been very good since I have obviously not STMR'd the unit yet, meaning that I have 4 main 7 stars in my roster.
Then yeah, you sound like you're in good shape.
I'm getting 13,000 currency every round.
Yeah.
Instead of the normal 3,000.
All right. Calm down.
But to compensate for that, the cost of pulls on the box summon are doubled. So it's 400 currency a pull instead of 200.
Okay.
So
if you don't have any units and didn't plan to have any units, you get half the rewards you'd normally get for your back summons.
That's a bit frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see where that would be, people would be a little bit up in arms about that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a huge deal, and, the bonus is there. But
it sounds like a real problem I am 100% not a part of.
Fair enough.
Yeah, pretty much.
And lastly, I believe we have a Scorn of Tiamat as well, which got released.
Okay,
and,
so now they call it a Scorn, but Scorn was originally supposed to be for repeat bosses, and Tiamat and Lich are not.
No, apparently just big bosses go to Scorn.
Okay, cool. Well, sucks to be the old chamber, I guess.
Yeah. But hey, I guess at least you get the reclears for the old chamber.
Sure.
But yeah, last trial we wondered what the Dragon Killer weapon was for, whether it be Shinryu or Tiamat, and
turns out
I
it's
guess we
Tiamat.
have the answer now.
There you go. Yeah, I kind of thought it would be. Like, my gut was telling me it was Tiamat, but, did we ever get Merilith or, Kraken?
Nope.
Okay, so this is our second fiend then. They're going weird order.
Yeah, and we probably won't get them next time because Plant and Undead Killer on the Enchant Sword you get as a reward, I believe that's Marlborough.
Both Marlboros, or was this a change from JP?
Probably the JP Marlborough.
Okay. So not our, crazy one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, crazy at the time of release, anyway.
It was pretty crazy even after that. It was beatable by then, but, yeah, it was still a very nutty trial by comparison to a lot of the others you ran across.
You had to have some very specifically calibrated bursts to get it done.
Pretty much. Basically, I had to wait for, what's her name, Mistea to come out.
No, then that will be all for FFBE, I believe. Pretty good week overall for me,
It
and
does
I
sound
hope
that
it's
way.
been good to you.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah, wait, no.
Hold on.
One last note. We also had, of course, something which we talked about last time, but actually happened this time, which is the end of the Madame's Manor.
Yes, I was actually going to ask about that.
You get her gun at the end of if you killed all of the bosses. It's a bit finicky for the last one in particular because you have to enter the last floor 3 times.
3?
Because, yeah, the first time you finish that one, you have Madame say, okay, this one is going to be a bit spacey, get back in it whenever you feel ready.
Okay.
Then you go back in it, but it's still a story version when you have to get the boss to like 60%, and then she finishes off, and then you have to get back in to get the boss down entirely on your own.
Okay. That seems, long.
Yeah, which finally gave you the last gem you need to trade for the gun. I mean, I say you need to trade it. Technically, you need to only finish the bosses. You don't need to keep the gems. I know that because I did all of the bosses in a row. Then I went to get the gun. Then I noticed the gems were still in my box waiting to be accepted. So they technically weren't in my inventory.
Oops. Okay, so the gems themselves are actually useless, so this is a pretty big oversight from Gooby by the sounds of it.
Exactly. But hey, that means you can probably sell them.
Yeah. For like 20 gil.
Probably.
Something like that.
checked.
Well, that is a
At
bit...
least I won't clog up the inventory.
Yeah, I feel
True.
like it's a bit disappointing, but at the same time, like, hey.
The event itself, the story itself, is not disappointing at all. It's some very good content. It's pretty heartwarming all through the end, especially if you did the story event as well, because the two obviously tie in together.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a very sweet story overall.
Right
Highly
on.
recommended. Now we're actually done with FFBE
Okay.
and ready to shift to Arknights. How is it going, Doctor?
All right, well, unfortunately, I have to start this with the dreaded retraction. So, last week I said that Chen's skill charged twice because she attacks twice. It turns out I was misreading the information on that one. I'd only used her as a friend unit to test. I hadn't actually got her myself at that time, though I have since acquired her.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She is still excellent, but that particular function that I said was going on is not accurate, and I do need to apologize for that bad information. My testing was flawed. Her
Probably
two attacks...
because you didn't see the talent that she has for charge over time.
That's really what happened there. She has a skill point, charge over time, for any unit who uses attacks instead of time to charge.
Or getting attacked.
Or getting attacked. And that includes her. So she does charge herself with that, and she charges those around her with that. It does make her a very good team with her second-in-command Swire, which I'll get into that in a moment. The other thing we didn't mention about her third skill, how it hits 10 times, turns out that when that skill kills someone, if there's still attacks left on it, that damage isn't wasted. It just retargets the next thing over. So you can actually technically use that as an AoE.
Very good.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah, Rai showed me that.
In that case, that's actually...
Oh, it's her best skill by far.
Straight up better than her second skill.
Oh, yeah, no, it's her best skill by far. It's silly how good that is.
Unless you need the arts damage. If you need the arts damage because something is going to be, like you have tanky units coming up against you with high defense, I could see using the second skill, but even then...
I mean, realistically, if you have an arts damage, if you want her to block for something that's going to have arts damage, just stick a Mia nearby. Like... I need to be clear that the very first unit they give you is a character named Mia, and she is like the main character of the game's story, and she is actually pretty dang good. She is a very, very good single target magic user with some pretty solid skills, and her Elite 2 promotion gives her an improvement to those to charging those skills. So it actually makes her very, very potent. Which is really cool because, you know, that makes it very newbie friendly because you're always going to have at least one really good mage no matter what else you have.
Yeah, so don't say, oh, hey, Amiya's a free unit, she's no good. She is really good.
Yeah, this game doesn't work like that.
No.
Yeah, and it's always good, especially to have a lot of different good units, since you have so much space in your team. You have like 12 units you can choose from instead of the usual 4, 5.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of swapping that. There's a number of stages where my early deployments don't look like my late deployments. So there's a lot of that.
On one stage in particular, I actually swap like two of the same. I have one person in for one counter damage, and then I swap to another person, and then I put the old person back in, and I think I put the second one back in as well.
I've done exactly that. On the second annihilation, my strat, as ill thought out as it was, involved actually rotating 3 people. There was Wraith Leaders. Wraith Leaders cannot be blocked. They will run through your blockers, so you have to nuke the snot out of them. I actually had a case where I had one of my top shooters way out in the back in order to deal with those guys, but once they left, I withdraw her, withdrew my AoE sniper, withdrew somebody else, I think a healer, and then rotated their positions as they got back for redeploying. So there's a lot of that too. The point I'm trying to make is having a wide toolkit in this game is incredible.
Yes.
I actually got...
And it's great that it rewards that.
Oh, it really does. Even 4-star units can be fantastic. Like I mentioned...
Yeah, like it seems like the type of game where you're doing better if you have a diverse roster of mid-tier unit than just one very good unit and that's it.
Oh, if you have one very good unit and that's it, you're done. You're just not going to clear any stages. GG.
Yeah.
That's literally all there is to it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been working on my unit selection.
Yeah.
And I've put a ton of effort into like the number of units that I have. I've got probably close to 40 units promoted to Elite 1, even if they're not all leveled to like 30.
I think I'm around there as well.
I approve. I'm the type of guy who likes in Pokemon to have a full team that's useful instead of just forcing the starter to get good and the rest just trading along. So I support this type of gameplay.
Well, I mean, again, it's absolutely required. Pretty arguably, and I say arguably because there's a bunch of people who could say different things, arguably the best unit of the game is a character called Silver Ash. Fun fact, I thought the tutorial pull was a 6-star guaranteed pull because I pulled him in the tutorial pull. And I didn't realize...
It's not, by the way.
No, it isn't. I thought it was for the longest time. Yeah. Turns out I just got that lucky.
I can confirm it's not because I've tried the game a little to know a little more of what you're talking about during this
welcome. Anyway, Silver Ash
I'm not playing regularly, but I've tried.
Fair enough. Yeah, Silver Ash is arguably the best character in the game. If you just power leveled him, I'd be surprised if you got through Chapter 1. I would be surprised if he pulled that off. He has great firepower. He doesn't have enough to stave off an army. Nobody does. There's a couple of stages where you're dealing with something that only wants arts damage that he's not going to be helpful against. He's a physical ranged.
And that's where you gotta use the power of friendship.
Pretty much. In more ways than one, because I borrowed friend units for some pretty devastating effect. One of my favorite friend units was a character named Siege. She's a Vanguard. She's really good. On the same pull I got Chen, I actually had enough certificates to just flat out buy Siege from the shop.
Nice.
So I ended up getting both of my bucket list units at one time, effectively on the same pull, even if that's technically not accurate.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that they give you the option in the shop to just, if you've pulled a certain number of units, basically, 4-star or above,
Yep.
then you can just buy a 6-star unit.
Yeah.
And you can save those certificates that you have until a unit that you wish to purchase comes up in the shop.
Yeah, I
Which is
think that's
exactly
one
what
of
I
the most important key element, because that also means that it's not a mechanic to make you pull on one banner specifically, but the certificates carry from one banner to the next.
Yes, they do. They never.
Yeah.
The certificates themselves never expire, though the shop does rotate out its inventory every, I think, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's either 2 weeks or a month. I'll double check.
I think it's 2 weeks, because Siege just came up last week, and it said 14 days. I think it's 2
Okay,
weeks.
so yes, as far as the units in there specifically, yes.
Yeah,
that
the
is 2
gold
weeks,
certificates are 2 weeks. The green ones are definitely every month. Those rotate out the start of the month, but you get all of these certificates just from any pull you do, including like the free recruitment pulls that you can easily do at least 3 a day and not have a problem on.
Yep.
So I guess the point I'm trying to say is, once again, this game is extremely free-to-play friendly. Despite that, I have now doubled the total I have spent in this game from $6 to $11.
Somebody stop this crazy madman.
Somebody stop this crazy man. Yeah, my monthly card for $5 ran up, so I bought another monthly card. $5 subscription.
Makes sense.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of other games I've seen, really just the Fountain of Lapis is the only one that really compares cost to value-wise.
It's half the price of the Fire Emblem subscription.
Yeah, half the price. That says a lot. What do you get for the Fire Emblem subscription?
Costumes and quality of life things that should be in the main game.
Oh, right. We talked about this. This doesn't give you any like pull power or anything like that, does it?
It gives you that in the form of special quests. You get a few orbs this way. The most important part are the costume, the auto battle mode, and the cheat code to rewind last turn.
Oh my word!
For crying out loud! Fire Emblem, y'all. Arknights doesn't have that problem, thankfully. It's actually very, very, very friendly game.
And it's got tons and tons of strategy.
Oh my god, yes. The fact that we can talk about these levels and just power through them, I'm probably going to be streaming it later this week, and we'll talk about why in just a moment. The fact that all of these strategies can come up differently, and it almost never punishes you for playing the game, it just feels so good because it lets you try stuff. I keep gushing about this every week, but it's true every week.
And that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And with that, we should probably talk about some of the content that's come out. So,
Correct.
Chapter 5.
What? It has content?
It has content.
It does.
Chapter 5 of the story
was released
Yep.
last week.
Yep. So that's a number of stages. We also got our first extreme mode stages. Now, I haven't unlocked these yet.
I have not either.
And then finally...
Getting there, slowly.
Yes. Well, slowly is kind of the name of this game. I've been in hardcore unit building mode. And that's largely because of item number 3. We're getting our third annihilation mission, which I'll be streaming that. That's like a giant marathon. I think there's like 400 enemies in a single stage, and you gotta, like... Yeah. Rewards are cumulative. As of the first 2 annihilations, I have not started to unlock the third. I'm probably going to be streaming it. Out of the first 2 annihilations, you can get 1,600 red orange, whatever, the pulling the currency. Arundum, sure. You get 1,600 red currency a month, or a week, excuse me, not a month, a week. A 10 pull costs 6,000, so that's actually, like, really good, because that's effectively... Because we have the auto battle function, when you complete a stage, the game you can let it play itself. I just repeat Lungman the first annihilation until I get it. Not Lungman, I'm sorry, Chernobog. Lungman is the second annihilation that I have on an auto, I just don't have an auto safe. So there's a good chance something will leak, and that's the... Annihilations are the one time they will punish you if you get too far into the stage, but you also get a large percentage of the rewards, even if you don't 100% clear it, so it's 6 to 1, half dozen to the other.
That's nice.
Basically, if you don't clear the first 100 enemies, if you quit, or you lose before you kill the first 100 enemies, you get back 100% of your sanity, and as the number of enemies you kill goes up, after you reach certain milestones, then basically... Whenever you finish the stage is when it'll say, okay, how far did they get, and okay, they didn't reach this milestone, which means they end up spending this much sanity, and they refund the rest of it.
Right.
And that's the case for any time that you go in there.
Yes.
It's not, after you finish it the first time, then you end up paying the full cost. Next time, it's for any time that you go in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you only get 200 out of 400, you'll get half your sanity restored, and you'll get a small reward, actual like stage reward that counts towards your grand total for the week. So you can absolutely just power through and get your maxed out rewards for the week. But the reward cap does go up as you clear milestones in the mission, like 300 enemies beaten, 325, etc.
Yep.
So just like me clearing Gilgamesh, Scorn of Gilgamesh, you can fail forward into rewards.
Correct. Though generally speaking, the game prefers it if you actually succeed.
Of course.
Yeah. Some of the other milestone rewards you get for the first time you beat 100 enemies. You'll get some of the in-game currency, some experience, and then some of the green certificates. And it goes up from there, right? So the more enemies you get, then the more that they will give you.
Basically, there's two types of rewards of these. There's your weekly Arundrum red currency reward, and then there's your one-time milestone rewards. The milestone rewards don't regenerate, but it gives you very important stuff, like, again, your red currency reward cap goes up for the week, or total for the week.
And that reward cap stays.
Yeah,
so
and then it'll give you...
increase that cap, any future weeks when you run these, you'll have that increased cap.
Yeah. And then the milestones will also give you green and gold certificates. So remember how I said I bought Siege for 180 gold certificates? Those certificates went into it. So, yeah, these annihilations tend to be very challenging missions. Once again, Silver Ash will not solo it, though I believe I saw a video of some crazy person with a maxed out Silver Ash, Chen, and who else? There was a third person. Was it Saria? Siege.
It was Siege, Chen, and Silver Ash.
Yeah, those three alone.
The second annihilation.
Yeah, knocked out Lungman Annihilation, which is absolutely absurd.
The second one. It takes a lot of resources.
Yeah, to
get them to that point.
That is not a small task, but between those three, you get them that high, things will go kersplat.
And it required very specific timing on when you put your units down, where you put them down, where you face them. So it's a crazy strat that probably shouldn't work, but it does.
No, but that just shows how powerful those three units are. And I have all three of them, and that actually scares me to no small end.
Specifically how powerful in general 6 stars are.
Yeah, 6 stars are...
usually their third skill. Not always, but usually.
The third skill usually helps, but then on top of that, they have a greatly increased stat cap compared to lower tiers. Compared to 5 stars, they have 10 extra levels on all 3 of their elite tiers. Am I wrong on that?
I don't think you're wrong. I think that's correct.
So they go up to level 60 before E1, level 70 before level 70 or level 80. Big old level before E2, and then E3, I think, goes all the way up to level 99 or 100.
Well, I have a...
Yeah, I have an E2 Exusii.
E2 6-star, so that's level 90 that they
level
go
90,
up to
okay.
at E2 for 6 stars.
So, yeah, the short version is they are extremely powerful, as well they should be. They're your rare unit. Third skill tends to be the reason why, but there's also a lot of other factors that go into it, just in terms of raw stats. And then the fact that the 6 stars tend to be a lot quirkier than lower stars. Like, you have Ifrit, who's a weird AoE, technically an AoE mage, but she's a better sniper than most snipers. Because she'll just hit everything along a straight line and has no lateral attack pattern whatsoever.
Yep. I will say for Siege, the big reason I think that she is such a good Vanguard at 6-star is because as enemies die around her, and specifically the 4 adjacent squares, she gets 1 skill point for each enemy that dies, and her second skill pairs really well with that because it does damage in those 4 squares A lot of damage.
Yeah, it hits really hard. For a Vanguard, she has shockingly high attack power.
And that second skill restores your deployment points. So
yes,
that's why she's so good at 6-star.
I believe her third skill is actually just pure damage, correct?
Correct. It does not give any deployment points.
Which is weird. Like, that's kind of not really a Vanguard thing, so I'm a little trepidatious about that one, but knowing 6 stars, it probably hits
at that point,
absolutely insanity.
Well, it's at level 7 on mine, and it does 320% of her attack, and it has a chance to stun for 1.1 seconds.
How many enemies is a target?
1. So I would argue that her second skill is definitely the better skill.
I would agree with that. That seems
most situations.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that. That'd be worth specializing. I think that that third skill seems very
It's really
underwhelming.
good if you want like a chance to stun, but I mean it just seems
I would say that, but at
very
the same time, Gummy
for the cost of it.
But I mean, you have Gummy who costs $1 and she can do that.
It's
so
going to be your mainstay for her.
No, I don't feel like that's I don't know. That doesn't seem like a skill I would almost ever use. It feels very strange to me. But, whatever. Anyway, so we have this third Annihilation coming out. I believe it's out as of recording, as of today. Yeah.
Yes, as of the 9th of March.
My understanding is My understanding is that this Annihilation is absolutely crazy. Like, good luck.
I know a friend who's done it. They've only been able to get up to 300.
Yeah, I have a mutual friend of the stream, Karina, aka Geisterfuchs, who's been talking about getting prepared for it and has done some very interesting things as a result. So we shall see how that plays out.
Yeah, I have no idea what it's going to be like. I actually plan to do a couple of runs on it tonight.
Very nice.
So we'll see. We'll see how well that goes.
Yeah. I'm looking at doing it on stream later this week, and I'll have an audience for that one. So wish me luck on that, guys, because that has the potential to backfire horribly and make me look terrible.
There are a couple other things to note.
Okay.
Obviously, in this game, they do release costumes periodically, both in the store as well as sometimes they'll release a costume as part of an event. Currently, the event, I believe, is Myrrh. She gets a costume if you log in for 7 days. And you get some other rewards along the way. I will say, in my opinion, the pricing on the costumes that you need to purchase with the premium currency is a bit pricey. It's 15.
It is
of the premium currency.
That's the gold currency that can convert down into the red, by the way.
For each costume.
Yes.
And 15, if you do the math, one 10 pull is about 33 of that currency.
Yeah.
So at that point, the costume is the cost of about half of a 10 pull.
Now, these will come back cheaper as reruns, assuming we follow the Chinese release schedule.
Correct.
That said, I do have a confession to make. Despite it being extremely expensive and probably not the best decision I should have made, I did actually buy Xuziai's costume. After I got both Chen and Siege, I felt the need for some deal with it sunglasses, and her costume features those. So I'm just like, yeah, I kind of need this.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally understand.
I strongly considered getting it, but I was like, I'm going to just wait on this one.
Like, I remember in Resonance of Fate, you had the ability to dress up your characters, and it's amazing how much characters that look dopey as hell normally get suddenly cool when you add sunglasses to them.
Yeah, so I bought Xuziai's tactical gear. It's very strange seeing an angel in, like, full-on SWAT outfit, but she makes it work.
By the way, from what she says, like, in the game, I think her name is pronounced Exia.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately Japanese pronunciation,
True.
Because you have Teleopsis, and there's no second I there at all. So
Correct.
I
was just saying from what she says, that's how she pronounces her name.
Sure, I'm just going to stick with
line.
I'm just going to stick with phonetics because the voice lines haven't been particularly accurate because of the Japanese voice acting.
I mean, it's still closer to our actual name that Fire Eater is.
Yes, because Fire Eater is just F Eater, and I believe I was told that's a play
capital
on
F, capital E.
Yeah, I believe that's a play on Ferris, which is iron. So she's Iron Adder.
Sense.
And I'm just like, this sounds really silly. And seeing as she's a performer, Fire Eater is just a cool nickname for her. So that's literally just a nickname. That's not a case where I'm mispronouncing it or something like that. That's just her nickname. I want to be clear on that. I call her that because it's easy to wrap my head around, but that is not accurately her name.
Very much so.
And then the other thing to know is that this week, starting March 9th through the 16th, there is all of your supply missions will be open.
Yep.
Like they were for last week. Not last week, 2 weeks ago. So if you're looking to level any specific units and you want to power level them a bit, go ahead, get on those supply missions. They're going to be open. All of them are going to be open for you all week.
Yeah, this is definitely the week for it, no question. There is no new banner this week. There is a banner, but it's not worth talking about because it's just repeat characters on a banner.
Yep.
So do your pulls till you get the bonus, and then bail off of that unless you desperately need one of the two units. Which, I mean,
yeah, if you're really wanting one of the two units, absolutely go for them. Do keep in mind, Siege is available in the shop for those 180 certificates. So, if you've got about that many, and you can afford to wait until maybe you get the rest of the certificates, that might be worth considering just because that's a guarantee, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you're pulling, you don't have a guarantee. But with these, if you're looking for a specific unit that is 6-star and they're in the shop and you got the certificates for it, I would say that's a really good time to strongly consider at least spending those certificates unless you know for sure that another 6-star unit that you're going to want is going to come up in that shop.
Yeah, and if you're short of a good Vanguard, Siege is about as good as it gets. I have the Vanguard holy trinity of Siege, Zima, and Grani, and I'm just like, all right. Yeah, Grani, the event unit from our very first event. She is that good. Between those three... Yeah, no, I have this moment where I keep underestimating Grani. I'm like, oh, she's just an event unit. I can live without her. And then there was a stage where I decided I'm going to put her in against some sorcerers. I then completely forget to withdraw her again after I kill that sorcerer. And I find that she's killed that entire deployment side. I'm just like, all right, she just soloed that whole thing.
There is definitely a refrain going on here. The event units, at least so far, they're really good.
They're really good. Then again, we only have the one to really go by at the moment. Because
I'm also referring to Amiya. She's not event, but she's also a free unit. So.
Yeah, the free 5-star units so far have been very, very strong and will serve you very, very well.
Yes.
And we shall see if that trend continues.
Anything else we have for Arknights?
We talked about extreme mode. We talked about the annihilations. We talked about various strategy stuff, whether the banner's worth it. I think we're good to move on.
I think so. So I believe we had one thing going on in Valkyrie Anatomia, Rana?
Yep.
Valkyrie Anatomia, where we have only one thing that really happened this week, which is Melody of the Captive, an event that's in the continuation of the Benelux story.
Okay.
Or however it's pronounced.
Who knows?
Meaning Seraphic Gate shenanigans.
Oh, great. Here we go.
Still being fond of Death Flags, Benelux is like, I'm going to go back there alone now that I'm healed. And of course, Lenef tries her best to tell him that no, that's stupid. He shouldn't do it.
I don't remember him being this much of an idiot in Valkyrie Profile 1.
Yeah, I guess he's just really transfixed on on her his dead maid.
I guess, but like...
But at least what Lilith managed to negotiate is that he'll be accompanied by the other people from his world, namely Jelanda and Angrim.
Okay.
And to emphasize how much Benalis is being a blockhead in this event, Jelanda is the reasonable one in comparison.
That is very rare that the bratty
Oh, boy.
princess who never says something interesting is somehow the, like, smart one of this relationship.
Yeah, because she sees, similar to how he does it, the silhouette of her dead father,
Okay.
but instead of going and pursuing him and going alone, she sees Angrim and asks to confirm that's not really him, right? No, it's not. But the maid, it's not really her either, so why is Benalis pursuing him? I don't know. So why are we with him? Because Angrim answers, when things might get dangerous, we're going to be here. And when things get dangerous.
I'm shocked that the incredibly obvious trap was in fact a trap.
Yes, they even had, I believe, one of Angrim's either brother or companion, and he completely disregards it instantly because he's no nonsense like that.
Yeah, Arngrim is usually pretty smart when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, resourceful. And they eventually turn into monsters and then get smacked in the face, and then they return to the other Einherjar groups, the one with characters from Valkyrie Anatomia itself.
Okay.
Which, as it turns out, are looking for Lilith, which has been going on her own investigation, which apparently consisted of directly confronting the Ethereal Queen and asking her what the deal was up with that.
I mean, I have to appreciate the direct approach on some level, but I'm not sure threatening the Ethereal Queen is the best play.
Indeed, especially since she's not exactly happy about it.
I'm shocked.
But one interesting part of this exchange is that it comes with a flashback of her former appearances, which confirms that the Halloween event is canon as part of this storyline.
Okay.
Seraphic Gate.
Seraphic Gate, everybody.
Yeah. But it ends on a bit of an annoying note because at this point, after having fought a little and having seen a silhouette again, the Ethereal Queen figures out what's happening, Lena figures out what's happening. I, as a player, still have no idea.
All right. Well, it's very rare when the story isn't clear about these things. Usually when they tell the main character, they also tell the player, but, you know.
Yeah. But I guess we'll have more information in part 2, which isn't there yet. So that leaves us to the unit itself, which is the Ethereal Queen, but named this time. Now, a bit of background information. The Ethereal Queen is a name that's been translated from her Japanese designation, which is Iseria Queen.
Correct. I'm aware of that.
But this time, even in English, she's named Destruction Queen Iseria. So there's this. Apparently, it's her name and not just her title.
I wouldn't have called that. Either that or translators are different now and they didn't know what was going on.
Well, they've named her Ethereal Queen in the 2 last appearances.
Right. Which is why I said there's new translators now and didn't know what was going on because they didn't check their work.
Yeah, so that's kind of strange this way, but I guess she's Iseria now.
Okay.
And she's a fire mage. Now, She's a very good fire mage.
I hear a butt coming.
No. She's. I mean, the but is perhaps that none of her main attacks are fire elemental.
So you got to give her a fire weapon to actually have her do her job?
Yes, because otherwise her only fire attack is her purify attack. Her
Interesting.
main attack, in spite of being literally overpowered versions of Fire Lance and Fiery Explosion, are non-elemental fires.
That's very strange.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Very.
I didn't know about that until I checked the wiki, thought there was a mistake in the wiki, and checked the game itself.
No mistake.
Yeah. Now, about the annoying part, there's a premium version of the unit,
Of course.
but, and this time it's a positive but,
Interesting.
yes, there's a normal chance to pull either the unit or the premium version of the unit.
You say there's a
And,
normal chance?
Normal chance, so it's 1% in total for both versions. But this time, instead of the premium version being some crazy number like 0.025%,
Okay.
it's 0.2%. So it's a 1 in 5 to get the premium version compared to the normal version.
That's
Which is still bad, but less
Yeah.
bad. Like, it's attainable.
It's attainable. It's just very, very, very stupid. I
Yeah,
still
and
hate this
also-
premium thing. This
Yes, and
jackpot nonsense
also-
really pisses me off.
And also, it's important because you said jackpot nonsense, and you don't get the jackpot ticket when you get the premium unit this time. You get only the unit, meaning you don't have the free orb like you would with the other completely whale-baity jackpot. So it's a tiny step in the right direction, clearly not enough for me to spend back in the game, but I thought I'd at least give a pull for the first step to show a tiny bit of goodwill, as they've shown a tiny bit of goodwill. And I got the unit, the normal version, but I have her.
I mean,
So that-
normal version is perfectly usable.
It is. I'll
Don't
take it.
Get caught up in the nonsense with the nonsense. Don't do it.
I am not spending anything in this game.
Good.
That's very fair.
None of the
with,
rest of you should
what we've
either. If you
heard.
haven't heard us yelling about it, despite how much we like the story, this game is bad for you. Don't
Yes.
fall into the trap.
But yeah, the unit's very good. Her attack string takes about 3 millennia, but aside from that, it's very good.
I mean, we're used to that. Anyone who had Hakure from the beginning, like, yeah, we're used to long attack strings.
Yeah, like in particular, her third attack, she hits people with the staff with 4 different hits. Then she takes on her wings and start hitting them about 6 or 7 times in a row. Then she gives the last hit. It's a full characters combo in one attack.
Nice.
It hurts like a full characters combo as well because she's very good. And so do her other attacks. So yeah, it was a pretty good pull.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still won't spend back in the game, but
Yeah, that's
No.
very, very fair with how this game has been going.
No, this game
Yeah.
has been incredibly, like, I don't even want to say exploitative, just paywall-y.
yeah,
And it's not
that's
worth...
a level beyond stingy at this point.
Yeah, no, it's smacks of desperation. I just don't think the developers know how to make this thing click.
Yeah, but hey, at least it would have survived 1 year because we are approaching the 1 year anniversary.
I mean, good. I hope they do something
Yeah.
good for the 1 year. I really do.
Me too. But yeah, a tiny step in the right direction. Please make more of them and make bigger steps in this direction.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I hope that is the way things go.
Yeah. But for once, only one event and that's it for a week, so
Yeah, that also doesn't sound very
ready
much like Valkyrie Anatomia. Trying to
I
show
know,
goodwill
right?
to
That is
players
so
only
weird.
one event at a time. Something's off.
So that leaves us to this week's main topic.
Yes, it does. No, it doesn't, because we have something very briefly to talk about in terms of the fact that there's a Dragon Quest mobile game out now. It exists. I know nothing about it other than it's Dragon Quest and it's available.
No, it's already out. It's not announced and about to be out in...
It exists and is playable. I don't know if we're ever going to cover it because I don't know anybody who actually plays it. So yes, Dragon Quest has a brand new game out. If you like Dragon Quest, maybe check it out. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I know nothing about it other than the fact that it exists and is released.
We don't even know if we're collecting like characters or weapons or monsters. It seems like the kind of game where you collect monsters, but...
I discovered this morning.
Okay.
So I'm playing severe catch-up when it comes to this. But
You know what? I'll look into it.
Cool.
I'll get it, I'll look into it, and I'll have something to report on for next week.
Sounds good. I just didn't want to have a week go by and say, hey, a new game based on a major property came out and we have nothing to say on it. We're saying something. That something isn't much, but we are informing our audience that, yes, this is a thing that exists if it's something that you think might interest you.
If you're a Dragon Quest fan.
If you are a Dragon Quest fan. If Rana says that it's worth checking out, then we will take a look at it. But we will have a more in-depth review for you next week. But we didn't forget about this thing, or at the very least, most of us didn't know about it until this morning, and I just remembered it existed as we were preparing for this episode. So we've done no research. I'm sorry.
Now, another thing I'd like to do before we go to the main topic would be the shout-outs to the Global Exclusive Podcast.
Go for it.
Okay, so we're talking a lot about FFBE. We like to cover different games, but FFBE remains a mainstay, if only because that's the way most people in this podcast met, essentially.
Effectively, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we're not the only FFBE podcast in town, and recently there's mostly the wiki people, since I'm lead, that started the Global Exclusive Podcast, which is a podcast only on FFBE, and they go more in depth on unit specifics, on trial strategies, on the reason for the wiki ratings, which is a pretty cool behind-the-scenes look.
Yep.
And it's mostly a game podcast, about arguing about which way to pronounce which unit.
I mean, let's be honest, that's going to happen. That's even happening in Arknights, even though, like, they say them on occasion, and I'm just like, they're saying it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, but they take it to another level.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a pretty fun podcast. There are 6 episodes, and it felt fair only to shout them out because it's pretty good, and I listen to them eagerly when they come out.
Cool.
Okay. Well,
So if you're into FFBE, then go ahead and feel free to check them out.
Absolutely.
The Global Exclusive Podcast. They're on Core FM, and I believe you can get the link by searching the wiki. If not, they post the episode updates on the subreddit.
Well, there we have it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Please check them out. We always like having friends of this production here, and maybe one day we can do some kind of crossover or something.
That'd be great.
And with that in mind, let's go ahead and get into our general topic, which is upgrading old units. Hi?
Go ahead.
Okay, the topic is upgrading old units to be viable in the current meta. This is the most important thing on the planet.
Oh, you're that much into it.
If a developer doesn't do this, they are wrong and they deserve to feel wrong.
Okay, I did not expect that passionate an opinion, even though I agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You know, I think also it's important as far as how they do it. You know, I know in FFBE, for instance, they do the enhancements.
Yeah.
Which, you know, they don't do them for, like always do re-enhancements for really old units, and that's completely understandable. Those for units that were released like 2 years ago or whatever. They're really going to be power crap just because that's the nature of the game. But they do usually release enhancements. Usually, about a year after they are originally released. And oftentimes that gets the units back to be very usable in the current meta.
Which I'm actually quite happy about. One of the big things that has always bothered me about some of these games is that a lot of them are about nostalgia and collecting your favorites. And the problem with that is that it really feels awful when an actual favorite is bad.
Mm.
It really feels even worse when a favorite you've used for a year is no longer viable at all because they've just been so power crept to oblivion.
Shantotto.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
The
So,
livid one, that is.
I mean,
Right.
yes. But, that brings us back around to the main point, which is we need a methodology. Any game that does this needs a methodology to keep characters relevant. Whether it's Arknights by just making every character so completely different that nobody is useless. Or,
For now.
For now, but I don't see that changing. Like, the way this
don't
game is designed.
Yeah, but that's speculation at this point.
That is speculation. That is correct. I
am.
am basing it off of the game that this game is effectively a sequel to. In which case,
because at this point, Arknights hasn't existed long enough for it to be relevant to this conversation.
that is fair. I'm
There's a good reason to believe it will be. It will keep units relevant a long time,
Right.
if only by virtue of needing a lot of units.
right. It helps that their unit release schedule is extremely slow.
Yeah.
Which is actually very helpful, and it focuses more on building those units than it does on getting them, which is also handy. But yeah, that's actually kind of my point, though. Like, that's a way to do it, or just plain finding a way to upgrade characters to make them relevant again. Cough, livid Shantotto, cough.
Yeah. I mean, that's a bad example because she wasn't even good after her enhancements.
No, but
But for instance, Jack and Tifa, most recently in FFBE, are very good after their enhancements.
which is fantastic.
I think also with FFBE, they've done things like the latents and other things like that, where even older units maybe will get some latents from these trials, which can make them at least usable. Not necessarily great, but at least usable.
Right.
Even in more recent content.
And I think the most shining example is neither the enhancements nor the latents. It's the way they handle the fan creation units and then some other global exclusives like Krayla and Christine, which is here's a unit, now it's buffed. Now it's playable.
Exactly. I was actually going to bring up that exact same point.
Yeah. Which is just, here's some free enhancement. You had a unit, you have a better unit now.
Yeah, exactly.
And
But
that's great because, as much as the units, the seasonal units weren't very necessary. I think the way it made the fan contest, the unit design contest units relevant for longer was a great way to show appreciation for these units and make units that people really invested themselves into relevant longer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the long relevancy is at the key here. It's basically a way to take the unit treadmill where each new unit pushes the others a little bit back and a little bit back, and to have them stick to the underside of the treadmill and whip up on the other side.
Yeah, meanwhile, like, taking a look at Valkyrie Anatomia, has there been any attempt to upgrade older units at all?
One, there was the Hakuei buff.
Oh, right, I remember that.
Yeah, and it was great when it happened, and then nothing of the sorts happened again.
One person.
And
Ouch.
don't forget, we also, as GL, only had units for the Valhalla defense, while JP had orbs for units that were released, which gave them a fresh new start as well. We didn't get any of those. So we have it worse.
Great.
For those that only listen to us, you are completely missing out on Galen's complete stone face.
I'm just frustrated by this whole thing. I really am. Like, this is one of these things that just feels so necessary in building a game long term.
Yeah.
Is not leaving your players feeling like they got left in the dust.
Yeah, and it's really noticeable because I have one of my parties in the 10 parties you can make, which is the All Wrist party, which has Wrist, Arbiter Wrist, Summer Wrist, and Leone, which is Wrist in disguise. And the difference in power level, even though I have two of the units that are completely maxed out, is absolutely staggering. Like, Wrist is only there because I wanted her to be there. She has no ability to influence the fight whatsoever.
Right.
Even though she's equipped with one of the best weapons I have on me and everything.
Yeah, sometimes they just don't let you do it, which is...
Yeah.
It's just so depressing. I hate that so much, and it just feels like this is something you need. And
especially given I've talked about the unit treadmill, and you've mentioned how in Arknights it goes very slowly, and in Valkyrie Anatomia it goes very quickly. We've had 1 year, and we've been through 3 years worth of meta changes.
That is insanity. That is absolute insanity. That is...
I think also with upgrading units, if you don't upgrade them, it makes the game a lot less free-to-play friendly.
Yes.
Because if you have a method where you can spend some time, some energy, whatever, in to invest in some units and give them upgrades like an FFBE's enhancements, or even just free upgrades for the unit in order to make it more viable, or even just a slow release time, right? Any of those things are going to make the game a lot more free-to-play friendly, and it's making those units last when you get them is absolutely important to keeping the game playable to people who really aren't able to pay into it.
Yeah, because most of the time the units powering up doesn't cost any of the main summon currency. The only exception being when the Service Tower upgrades rolled out in FFBE. Because that required your duplicates.
Right.
It gave a use to your duplicates, but it also
but if you didn't have
them.
one, if you didn't have a duplicate, that character was left in the dust by default.
Exactly.
And they've since found ways to mitigate that with select summons being the biggest way, and
prisms.
Then prisms. Have the blank prisms actually rolled out, or is that just in Japan right now?
Just in Japan right now.
Okay. Well, they do exist. That is a way to handle that.
Yeah.
So it's very clear to me that they are trying to make that more generous and making those upgrades possible.
Absolutely.
I believe another game that's pretty good, and it's a shame we don't have Kate with us right now, but Opera Omnia apparently is very good with regularly making units more current with more abilities, more weapons as well, because it's a weapon gacha. So if you have an old unit and you want to give it a fresh boost, you just give it a new weapon. And it gives them a new ability, and it can completely change them.
And Well, I mean, that's not a game where you have to draw characters. You get them just by playing. So that making things more even in that is going to be a lot easier than something like a game where you gacha pull for characters, which Valkyrie Anatomia wasn't supposed to be originally, and then it became that way. I know we keep ragging on that game, but it's got so much to just be angry about.
It has so much potential with a really good story, but when your gameplay and the way that you have people investing into it is really bad, story kind of takes a back seat to how bad everything else is.
It's still in the front seat for me, and that's why I still play it.
Right.
And
but
it doesn't for you. And that's why you don't play it. Yeah.
Very much.
I stopped spending because, thankfully, I don't need spending to get the one best aspect of the game.
That's true. And the story is really good from what I've heard. I've never been interested in Valkyrie games, never played them, so I haven't played that one. But
I agree, you very much should.
It is still my favorite JRPG by none.
It's definitely up there for me. I personally prefer the second one over the first one, but they're both excellent. I've yet to play Covenant all the way through.
The second one, I mean, we're getting a bit carried away, but the second one had a bit of a better main story, but I missed the fact we didn't see how your Einherjars tragically died in horrible suffering, taking on the injustice of the world.
No, but I mean, that also is the difference between... I mean, we're getting totally off topic here, but I'm just going to say, that's also the difference between how Silmeria handles Einherjar versus how Lilith handles them. Silmeria has that whole seize memories of items thing, so she can take Einherjar from the ancient past, and the vast majority of cases, that's exactly what she did.
Wait, does that have an implication with the time she got handed Gugnir from Odin?
I don't know.
Anyway,
this is the point we're trying to make is that the Valkyrie series has this like really rich, really engaging, really interesting story that Valkyrie Anatomia has continued, but has also managed to squander in no small way.
Yeah, like Lilith, the main character in the game, has absolutely no use at this point.
She's completely useless.
And it's not like there was a complete lack of unit actualization, not in the way of buff, because, as we said, there was only one in 1 year, and it was Hakurai, which was good given her relevancy in her own storyline.
Yeah.
But besides that, there were most of the buffs happened in the way of new systems, like the potential board and the seal stones and the party skills, but they buffed the way to increase the power level of every character, including the new ones. So if you have to start at a 5 to reach a 7, and but there's another unit that starts as a 7 to reach a 9, the buff is essentially negated.
Yeah, it's essentially pointless because everyone's getting buffed at the same time, including your best units, which just means there's once again no point to focus on the older ones, which is the problem I'm talking about right now. Makes me sad. We've spent a disproportionate amount of this episode yelling about Valkyrie Anatomia, despite it technically not doing anything wrong this week.
Hey, I try to pull it back regularly.
You did, and then I just got up in arms about it again. It hurts me. It really hurts me.
It does. It comes from the heart.
It does. That is all the time we have for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back next week with more of the games you love to hate, and hopefully back with Kite.
Yes, indeed. Looking forward to have you back, buddy.
For real. Until then, y'all have a good one, guys. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.